Now that the education of the Pandavas and Kauravas was almost complete, a lot of villagers started talking about who should be the next king. One has to understand that Dhritarashtra was never meant to be a full time king. He was only taking care of the kingdom until someone was ready. Originally, he was denied the throne because of his blindness, and that had not changed. The only two potential candidates now were Duryodhana and Yudhishthira, and most villagers were very clear in their mind that Yudhishthira was the most qualified for this. Openly, they would talk about how Dhritarashtra needs to step down now that Yudhishthira is ready. And because Bhishma, because of his own vow, will not be ascending the throne, the only one really qualified was Yudhishthira. Duryodhana, of course, being a Duratma or an evil character, was never in the running in the minds of the villagers or the citizenry at least. Duryodhana didn't like this one bit. Along with Shakuni and Karna, he made some plans. He went and told his father, this has gone too far, and if this is not checked, Yudhishthira will end up becoming the king, and it was just a matter of time that Dhritarashtra and all his sons would be kicked out and would live like beggars. Now, Dhritarashtra truly believed that Yudhishthira was a good person. He had inherited goodness and dharma from his father Pandu, but he got talked into this by Duryodhana. Duryodhana's plan was to send the Pandava brothers along with mother Kunti to a place called Varanavata. Now, there had to be a reason because of which Pandavas would be sent. Otherwise, everybody would think that they are being banished. As suggested by Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra and others started talking about how Varanavata is this amazing place where a large festival was being organized for Lord Pashupati or Shiva. In time, the Pandavas were very excited to go and visit the place. Now that the interest was created, Duryodhana asked Purochana, the minister, to go and do something else. He explained to Purochana that this is the time when he had to show his real loyalty to himself, and when he, that is Duryodhana, became the king, Purochana would be amply rewarded for it. Purochana went ahead and started building a palace, a doomed palace for Pandavas. He used all sorts of material. He used hemp, he used dry wood, he filled up the plastering with ghee and other fats which were easy to burn, and then covered the entire palace with lak. Now, this lak is a substance that burns with a fury, but it's not easy to identify that something inflammable is being used. Eventually, when the Pandavas decided to leave for Varanavata, the palace was almost built. Now, as they were leaving, Vidura came and in front of everyone said something really strange. By itself, it makes no sense, and to be honest, even the Pandava brothers and Kunti did not understand what was being said, but Yudhishthira understood. Vidura said to Yudhishthira, one who knows will act so as to avoid danger. There is a sharp weapon that can pierce the body, but it is not made of iron. He who knows this is not killed and can turn it against the enemy. The burner of grass and the drier of dew do not kill animals in holes. He who protects himself through knowledge lives. The blind man doesn't see the way because the blind man has no sense of direction. He who doesn't have perseverance is never prosperous. Know this and be alert. He who accepts an ironless weapon from the untrustworthy can escape from the fire like a porcupine. Through traveling, a man gets to know the way, and from stars can deduce the directions. He who keeps the fives under self-control is never oppressed by the enemy. It made no sense to any of the Pandava brothers or Kunti, and in fact Kunti came and asked Yudhishthira, you nodded to what Vidura said and said you understood. If it's not too much of a problem, can you explain to me what it was? Yudhishthira said, I understood what he said, and for you, just suffice to know that we are in danger from fire and poison, and that we are supposed to escape through a tunnel. Eventually, they reach the palace and they get settled in it. It looks like a good place from outside, but because Yudhishthira is aware and he has informed everyone that a fire may be set to this palace any day, they always lived in fear and in alertness. One day, a miner came to talk to Yudhishthira and said, Vidura has sent me and he has asked me to help you build a tunnel. In a lot of translations, the Lakshagriha is called the palace of wax. Laksha or lak or lac, as it is called, is not really wax. These days, of course, wax is made from petroleum and other products, but back in the day, wax meant beeswax. Whereas lac is basically lacquer. It's a sort of resin that is secreted by lac insects. The one that is cultivated for this specifically these days and back in the days, the scientific name for that is Keria lacca. And the reason it is called lac or laksha is so intuitive, and yet most of us miss it, is laksha quite literally comes from the word laksha or lakh, which is 100,000. The idea being you need a lakh of these insects to be able to create this lacquer or resin. Even today, obviously, lac is highly cultivated, even though there are synthetic lacs available now, but the resin secreted from the insects is still highly in demand. It's used to make ornaments, and it's used to make a lot of models which are quite difficult to make and therefore are used as expensive gifts.